Hello! It has been too long since we've spoken last, but better late than never, because for the first time in months, I have seen something. And that something made me so angry I said to myself, I need to make a video. Hi, it's Kayla, by the way. Today's topic was prompted by a tweet that recently went viral, where OP was basically questioning why actors like Nanu and Bank have been, in their opinion, presenting more feminine lately. The way they phrased it was a tad more insulting, but we'll unpack that in a minute. PP was also dragged into this statement, with OP proposing the idea that Nanu and Bank are copying his style. As I said, we'll be unpacking all this and more, so stay tuned. A quick disclaimer as we proceed. This person is already being confronted with all the reasons why their words were offensive, so there's no need to go and continue the dog pile. More than anything, their tweets serve as one example of an ongoing problem I've been observing, so please refrain from putting more hatred out into the BL community than is needed. Okay? Now, before we take a closer look at the tweets, I want to preface that I did ask my good friend, who is a Thai interpreter, to translate them for me, since Google Translate isn't the most reliable tool. To my surprise, Google was pretty accurate this time. However, I am going to read my interpreter's translations instead so you can get the fullest context. On August 16th, this user tweeted, "Why did Nanu suddenly turn all girly? At first he seemed boyish and cute. Nowadays he's become a sweet, beautiful lady. And there is another person named Bank. He also turned girly, right? Do they have PP as a model?" That initial tweet was followed up by another, where OP asserts their preference for Nanu's old image, which they consider more masculine. They also accuse his company Domundi of forcing a girlier image onto him. There is some mention of Z and Nanu's ship dynamic, though they don't directly name drop Z. And once again, they bring up PP as an archetype of femininity. After receiving some backlash, they did respond by saying they're not going to argue with anyone and they don't really care. Fair enough. But I do care, and I'm going to say something. Under circumstances like these that involve a language barrier, people tend to jump to conclusions, and I wanted to ensure that I wasn't doing that. So I asked my interpreter what tone these tweets were being made in, because sometimes people make a joke and it doesn't quite translate, especially when it comes to an international fan base. Unfortunately, I'm here to report that this was said maliciously and that OP has a history of being a hater on just about everything. You can go and look for yourself. When someone posts a reactionary statement online, I often wonder what provoked them. And I'm almost certain this string of tweets was in response to Nanu's Dreamcatcher concert that was held on August 10th and 11th. There are two things to keep in mind here: the concept of looking feminine and the concept of acting feminine. So throughout the 2-day concert, Nanu sported a number of looks that many people would consider femme. Stereotypically, all those glittery capes and sequin bodysuits would fall into this category. As a queer person, I've definitely been referring to these looks as femme and cunty and every ballroom slang term you could think of. I don't think that's the part of this thread that's the problem. Even this claim of Nanu carrying himself in a feminine way, as stereotypical as it is, it's not an insult, or at least it shouldn't be. So let's get into the parts of this thread that I do think are a problem. First of all, the way the femininity is being framed as a negative bothers me. In your lifetime, I'm sure you've heard people tell a little boy, "You're acting like a girl, don't be such a girl." When a person presents in a feminine manner, they're automatically assigned with traits that are considered negative. Being sensitive, being weak, being emotional. It all stems from the patriarchy and how women and femme individuals are viewed as lesser than under this system. But really, what I want you to pull from these tweets is this line. I understand that there is a couple, but a boy couple is cute. So what you're saying is, if one of the boys in a couple is feminine, then they're not a gay couple. Why is it only a boy couple if both of them are stereotypically masculine? Again, I asked my interpreter for clarification, and this is exactly what they meant. If misogyny and homophobia were dots, this is where they would connect. Femme-phobia is an issue that rears its ugly head every now and then in the BL community. Historically, actors who are viewed as effeminate have a difficult time landing roles outside of the jokester or the supportive friend. We've seen depictions of this in series such as Lovely Writer and War of Y, but it's very much a reality these actors face. Take Kuhart, for example. The amount of hate he's received for not just being femme, but femme and queer is preposterous. Many of you might remember back in 2020 when the cast of A Chance to Love were accused of bullying Kuhart during their graduation livestream. Some of the fans' criticisms included the cast throwing balloons at Kuhart while he was speaking, talking over him at serious moments, telling him to judge who's the sexiest, pushing him for an explanation as to why he enjoys art, and joking that he was going to guess the cast members by their dick pics. When I went back to watch this live stream, I was unpleasantly surprised because I didn't remember it being so cruel. You can visibly see how upset Kuhart is when these interactions occur. Now, homophobia is one thing, but for me, it goes deeper than that. Personally, I do not believe that Kuhart would have been bullied to this degree if he were traditionally masculine. There are a lot of hypermasculine men out there that do not respect femininity because they associate it with women, and they do not respect women. This is regardless of their own sexualities and happens to be an ongoing issue within the LGBTQ+ community. I wanted to get more insight on femme-phobia specifically in the gay male community, so I asked my wonderful friend and fellow content creator Jordie C about his lived experiences and observations concerning this phenomenon. He did want to preface that he feels he lies on the spectrum between masculinity and femininity given the social situation. He explains, Femme-phobia is unfortunately extremely prevalent within and outside of the queer community. If the community isn't catching it from non-queer people, it's coming from inside the house. I've experienced my fair share of femme-phobia, from comments about my voice, the things I say, all the way down to what position I choose to take intimately. Within my community, we can see femme-phobia present in the preferences that many gay men specifically choose. Don't get me wrong, you can prefer one thing over the other, but most of the time, the reasoning always ends in misogyny. I especially feel bad for BL actors who receive hate or are questioned because of their occupation accompanied by their outward appearance. Let's take Earth as a perfect example of femme-phobia outside the community. This person has always tried to present themselves authentically, yet they seem to always be the butt of the joke. In turn, they have to work much harder to get work because the industry wants you to be palpable to all. And in the most recent case, Nunu. Why can't the first thought be, wow, this person is becoming truly who they are meant to be? Why can't it be something that has always been there, but this person is just now getting to a point in their life where they are comfortable showing who they truly are? Femme-phobia affects us all. It keeps men from showing emotion and keeping hygiene. It prevents women from being vulnerable and strong, ironically. And it prevents everyone in between from just existing. When it comes to actors' sexualities, you guys know I don't support the speculation. Someone else's sexuality will never be your business. And so this point has nothing to do with the sexualities of any of the actors involved. Keep in mind that femme doesn't necessarily equate to queer. That being said, the point I'm trying to make has everything to do with OP alluding to feminine men not being real men. If I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt, I would echo Jordie in saying that it's okay to have a preference, but you don't have to project your preferences onto others. We have to move past this parasocial bullshit where we feel like these actors owe us. They don't owe us shit. And if you don't like it, take your time and money elsewhere. We have to acknowledge them as human beings first. I find it so odd that a concert triggered this type of reaction because, let's be honest, the only thing more theatrical than a Broadway musical is a BL actor's concert. Anyone who has performed on a stage will tell you that everything has to be exaggerated, from your makeup and your costumes to your facial expressions and your body language. It's a lot like drag. You perform as an uninhibited version of yourself, as a form of expression, and to entertain. And similar to a drag queen, you won't see these actors dressing or acting like this every day. Another thing I find odd about these tweets is the suddenly part, as if Nunu and Bank experienced a Sailor Moon transformation overnight. What that tells me is that you haven't actually followed their careers up until now, because if you have, then you would know how they've grown over time, how their exteriors match what they've always felt inside. It takes trial and error to figure out who you are and how you want to present yourself. And as we'll soon get into, every person has their own distinct color. As for the accusation of Domundi forcing Nunu to be more feminine, I don't buy it. Mostly because I don't see this drastic change that OP is referring to. There are a lot of things you could accuse that company of, but I don't think forcing Nunu to twerk on stage is one of them. Now, I haven't talked about Bank's involvement much, but he's actually the reason I saw the initial tweet. He quoted it, and I'm going to read my interpreter's translation of said quote. Personally, I like both PP and Nunu, and when it comes to dressing up in a certain way, I will try it out, and if I don't like it, I'll change it. I do admit that sometimes famous people inspire me, but in the end, it depends on me whether I'm confident in wearing it or not, whether I like it or not. I do have to admit my decisions will have people liking it and disliking it always. I want everybody to love who they are. Lastly, do whatever makes you happy. I'm afraid that I'll die tomorrow and won't be able to do it anymore. Noel replied to his tweet in support, which was really nice to see. I loved his little anecdote about feeling boyish but also beautiful. Another actor who quoted the initial tweet is Tong, and he basically said Nunu and PP are inspirations and that everyone should express their gender how they want. Agreed. And maybe that's what this all comes down to. Gender expression and the hate that certain actors receive for embracing that fluidity. Just when I thought OP's tweets were losing traction, Nunu himself responded, causing some news publications to pick up the story. This is the moment I knew that OP was cooked, because how do you offend so many fandoms at once and walk away unscathed? So let's read Nunu's response per my interpreter's translation. I think everyone can develop themselves all the time, and some people don't have to define themselves all the time. For example, some days in some situations I'm shy, so I become Nong Nu. Some days I want to be cool or handsome, so I become Brother Nu. Or some days I'm naughty and mischievous, so I become Nu, a glamorous girl. We should be comfortable in every form of ourselves because it's us who learn and grow more and more each day. What we need to focus on is how we will develop our potential to be the best version of ourselves. I support everyone to be happy in every version of themselves. Thank you for loving each other in every version. Z, James, and many others commented showing their support. As you'll notice, the part of OP's thread that all these actors are latching onto is the accusation that they're copying PP. For context, PP is another actor who presents himself in a way that's deemed feminine, and he's embraced that femininity full throttle. He's considered a role model when it comes to gender fluidity in the Thai entertainment industry, and he's undoubtedly inspired other actors to be authentically themselves. There is no debating any of that. However, this claim that his whole image is being hijacked by Nunu and Bang is seriously delusional. Please tighten your grip on reality if you think PP was the first flamboyant man to grace the entertainment industry. Gender fluidity was not invented by a singular person. It truly feels like an erasure of queer Thai history given how far back gender nonconformity dates, but none of that even matters, because OP knows this and just doesn't care. This is where my background as a Zonzon comes in handy, because now I get to tell you all about this lore that I've been keeping to myself. So I decided to rewrite this part of the video because I don't think I properly explained the situation the first time, and there are some last-minute remarks I wanted to include. Basically, there has been an ongoing feud between some Nunu fans and some PP fans, and the main point of contention in this feud is the allegation that Nunu has been copying PP. Everything from his style and mannerisms to his merchandise and his choice of song covers. And let me repeat myself, these are some fans, because one thing I cannot stand are generalizations. Whether it's a generalization about a fandom, a subculture, or a minority group, it's not helpful. That's the type of ignorance that completely ignores context, and I'm not going to tolerate it. Anyway, as you can see, that very biting accusation OP made against Nunu was a consequence of this ongoing feud. Now, do you want to know something interesting? Some PP fans are alleging that OP has said homophobic stuff about PP in the past and has been actively trying to incite fights between the fandoms. This is something I have to set the record straight on because I've seen a lot of people referring to OP as a PP fan. They are not a fan of anyone involved in this situation. They are just a random netizen who likes to stir the pot. But this is where it gets even crazier. So right before OP made those tweets, a small subset of people posing as PP fans were exposed for making burner accounts where they would pose as Nunu fans and post awful, hateful things about PP. And in fact, the tweet that many people cite as the first plagiarism accusation was allegedly made by one of those fake accounts. So now you have these two massively popular fandoms pointing fingers at each other going, "You started it. No, you started it." Meanwhile, the damn thing was fabricated by some randos who hate both actors. I really wish I had more screenshots to share with you, but once OP's thread blew up, I suspect there was a mass deleting spree. I had the same issue when I made my video about Perth and Saint, where I know things were said because I witnessed them as a fan, but virtually all the receipts were wiped from existence, so I had to pull from other fans' accounts to corroborate. It is what it is, but I want to emphasize again that OP is not a fan of PP, Nunu, or Bank. And I also want to warn you guys to not fall for trolling in the year of 2024. Apologies for the information overload, but I felt it was essential to understanding where OP's opinions were coming from. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting this story to get so much attention, with millions of people viewing the original tweet. I think we often forget that when we post something online, everyone can see it, including the people we're posting about. And I think these actors are justified in their clapbacks. In this particular situation, I wouldn't even call their responses clapbacks because they were very diplomatic and far more polite than I would have been if faced with such tomfoolery. But that's why they have PR people and I don't. I was very upset to see Bank dragged into this because that boy has been struggling immensely with his mental health lately, and he doesn't deserve to be compared to anyone when he's worked so hard to set himself apart. The latter can be said for Nunu as well. There's a reason why so many veterans of the industry want to collaborate with him. And duh, of course PP is an icon. I can assure you no one wants to steal that title away from him. They just want to do their own things and be their own selves. So what do we take from all this mess? Well, my first thought is fuck Femme-phobia. My second thought is no one's trying to copy anyone else, so everyone should just stay in their own lane. And I suppose my final thought is let's celebrate Nunu, Bank, and PP for their achievements instead of pinning them against each other. That would be very demure, very cutesy. Thank you to the moon and back for watching, and thank you again to my friend Jordie for sharing your thoughts with all of us. Typically, I would take a moment to promote my Patreon, but I'll be so real with you. I'm dealing with a mental health issue, and I'm really trying to prioritize that. So for the time being, I can no longer post regularly on there. I'm so appreciative of everyone who has subscribed over there and over here. I hope to get back into some type of routine as I slowly improve my situation. But again, thank you so much for watching this video. Comments are always welcome as long as they're mindful. And that's it. I'll see you again when something new angers me. Bye!